So it's such a pleasure to be back in Victoria. You know, I interned here at the old Victoria General Hospital that was down on Fairfield Road. And those were the days when you used to have those student desk lamps over the beds, and those are what you'd be using at nighttime to examine patients with. So I interned there, and then I spent 11 years in the Victoria area doing relief work for doctors, what we call locum tenens. And then I met my wife. I think that was somewhere in there, Elizabeth. And anyway, so it went on from there. But in the last years, I've been, so I went overseas, I've worked in emergency departments, and I've worked in rural and in urban settings, and I've worked in walk-in clinics, I've worked pretty much everywhere. I've done palliative care, and in the last years, I've been a family doctor on Denman Island, which is about 3 hours north of here. And I decided I was going to take a sabbatical in January of last year. And then by the time we got to February and early March, we heard about this, the COVID-19 coming this way from China. And so many doctors, as you know, got prepared to go back to work. The College of Physicians and Surgeons invited doctors who had retired to come back and work again wherever they were needed, emergency departments, on the wards, and whatever. We were expecting quite a lot of deaths, and we were wondering how we were going to change our clothes in the garage so we wouldn't contaminate our own families when we came home. We had all sorts of things like that going through our minds. And so that never developed, as you know. And but despite that, we had quite a few deaths in long-term care. And back in March, I sent a letter to Dr. Henry saying, why don't we give our long-term care residents vitamin D? And that went up. I contacted our pharmacy to see if we even had any, and then I contacted our local long-term care doctor who's in charge, and then I spoke, it kind of went up the line to the provincial long-term care officer, and they just thought it was bunkum. And I like it, they said that those people up on Denman Island think that you can solve anything with a vitamin. I took it as a compliment. And then we got our medical doctors together, the integrative medicine doctors across Canada, and we wrote a policy saying, hey, you know, we should be giving vitamin D to everybody. And we sent that policy out to all the newspapers, and nobody picked it up. It didn't go anywhere. So things went on. I got a little quiet in the summer. People started getting their tans. So, you know, vitamin D wasn't such an issue. But then when we got to October, it looked like we were just going to go down the same road we'd done in the spring. And that's when I wrote that letter to Dr. Henry. And, you know, I haven't heard back from her. Yeah, that's no surprise. What can you say? Right?
You're right. Coward.
Maybe the truth would help.
But you know, there are many doctors across Canada that you don't know about, but I do, that are waking up to this, are aware of this. I get emails every day from doctors saying, you know, what can I do? You know, I'm working in the OR or I'm working in the emergency department, and my colleagues don't want to talk about it, or they not that interested in it. But there's a surprising number of those individuals scattered across the country, and they're growing in numbers all the time. But they have some obstacles to coming out and speaking with you like I am. I'm kind of lucky because, you know, I don't have the same risks that they have, which could be losing your livelihood by losing your license from the college. And they have young children, you know, and they have, you know, to provide for their family. It's not so difficult for me, so it's easy for me to stand up and speak on their behalf. But I can tell you that there are a lot of my friends out there, my colleagues, who would like to be standing in my shoes right now, telling you how they feel about this. And in particularly what we're doing to our children. And I think that all of them, you know, now are, all of these colleagues, there are hundreds across the country who are looking at what's happening behind school doors in terms of masking children, making them isolate from each other, washing their hands excessively, making them frightened that they're going to kill somebody if they take that mask off.
Exactly.
Shame on them. Yeah.
And this really is torture. There's no other word for it. It's torture. And child abuse. And we're going to see the ramifications of this. That's going to play out over generations. So what to do about it?
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to recognize that maybe school is not as great as we thought it was. That it's a method of taking away children's unique qualities, their ability to think, their ability to reason, and to let their imagination soar, but rather just to do what they're told by some authority, right? I think many people are recognizing this, and they're moving to unschooling or homeschooling. They're taking cuts in pay, and maybe even one person will be leaving the job place. In other words, now it's just not that you're going to give your child a better education by keeping them at home or teaching them in a small group and letting them educate themselves, which really means educate. E for X and duck means to take. It means to lead. So in other words, you don't have to do anything. They're sort of being led out of themselves by their wonder of what's around them. And they don't necessarily have to be in an institution for that. And many parents are realizing that to save their children, they're going to have to take that what seemed like an extreme step, which is to take their children out of school. And what we're seeing now is, as we're fighting back here, we're going to see a bit of a change of the tide in the next little while. It's going to be a long battle for us. That's what I suspect. But we are seeing something happening right now. I feel that there's a cusp that we're coming to. And although the battle will continue, and we're going to have to take our children and protect them, that there will be a change of the tide that we will soon start to see growing and growing.
Yeah.
I watch the internet, and I look at both sides of the story, and I'm seeing that things are coming out, that the corruption that has been in our schools, in our government, in our medical profession, in our legal profession, in our banks, everywhere, and even in us, is coming up out of the woodwork for us to see. And once it comes up, you can't put it back in. This is a fight to the death.
It is.
Right? And it's going to last a time, and it means that we're going to have to, what do they call that? Gird our loins to prepare for this. Because once the, let's call them the bad guys, come out of the woodwork, they know that they have to put all their chips on the table, right?
All in.
And that includes going after our children. So we have to prepare for a long fight, but have confidence, because I think this is a fight that we're definitely going to come out on top. And you're going to start seeing different groups like lawyers, medical doctors, nurses, or we're already seeing that, chiropractors, naturopaths, everybody is going to start coming out and seeing that the cost of going down this road to tyranny is too much. Not having a voice, being silent, is like being complicit. And that will change. So while we win this outer battle, us good guys versus the bad guys, something like that. We know who the Bill Gates are, and we can follow them right down, through the WHO, the CDC, right down into public health. We know that things like that Bonnie Henry is pushing on us are actually doing more harm than good, and in fact, indirectly killing people. But we have to recognize that if we're going to replace these people with something better, we better have something better to replace them with. Right? We can't go back with another regime which just turns into the same corrupt politicians as we had before.
We need a republic. A republic.
We don't need a republic. I don't think so. I don't think it's the idea that we need something big and outside. I think we need something that comes from us. So while we're in this battle against the outside, we also have to be in a battle against the inside, right? This friction that we're experiencing is an opportunity for us to see the negativity in ourselves, our desire to be angry or to be despairing or to be depressed or to be ignorant, like not to want to hear about it. We're seeing all those things come up in ourselves. So what we're getting is an opportunity to practice our own medicine on ourselves. And the antidote to the negative emotions, negative thoughts that come up are really to dig deep into understanding who we are as humans. If you don't want to be human 2.0, you better find out what human 1.0 is. And that is really our job here on this planet. It's really to find out what we are as humans, how we are in community, but also how we are as individuals. And that is the opportunity that we're being presented with here. So I suggest we reach up and we grasp this opportunity. And while we're fighting that external battle against all the corruption and all these different institutions that surround us, and while we're protecting our children, we have to set an example for them. And we have to also develop our humanity to its highest pitch so that we're of higher quality, that when we get the opportunity to take over, to replace those things that are so corrupt now, that we're there to stand up and do it. Thank you. Okay, thanks. I love that comes from catching babies for so many years.